I just bought this Toyota 86. As you can see, it's been pretty badly damaged and the insurance company has thus written it off. But now it's up to me and my dad to go ahead and repair this car. But little did we know what we were getting ourselves into. So then, there's a slight problem, and that is the car is about 700 kilometers away. So we best get going. And in case you were actually wondering, yes, it is 700 kilometers, as you can see here. However, there is a reason why we were willing to travel so far for this car. But I'll get to that later on in the video. Here it is. The 86.
Moment of truth.
Yeah. That's the damage. This headlight, I think's alright. This bit is meant to be here. I think. Or here. I think it's there.
This one's meant to be here.
That is meant to be there. But by the looks of it, there's nothing
There's a radiator.
damaged.
What do you think about it? It's a bit probably, I think that radiator. Oh no, it might be over there.
We'll have to see.
Wow. That's not bad at all.
Yeah,
Look, there's
really
the
isn't.
quarter panels. Even this, I reckon, is possibly repairable here.
Yeah,
It's got a few. No, I reckon it will.
some bits and pieces wrong with
I
it.
reckon we'll get that back again.
Yeah,
But like you say, the crash bar is.
yeah, the front crash bar there, look at
Even
that.
the foam. Crash bar.
And the foam, yeah, and the foam.
Padding. Probably had more damage sitting out here in the weather. What do you think?
Looks good.
How bad do you reckon it is? How
Not bad
good
at
is
all.
it?
Good, it's good. Not bad at all. Upon initial inspection, it didn't actually look too bad. However, as soon as we got it home and did a thorough inspection, we seemed to have figured out why the car was written off. Alright, so it's been a couple days. We got the car back and we pulled off some of the damage. Now, we figured out why the car's written off. And it's not looking too great, but just bear with me. So, as you can see here, this is where the alternator mounts to. It's the alternator. We pulled it out of the way. That's where it mounts to. It's got one bolt there which is snapped off. That's not difficult. We got all the parts, little bits of metal there. One bolt here as well, which also seems to be alright. That should be easy fix. These are all easy fixes. Welds, easy. This one here, also fine. So there's 3 there. 1, 2, 3. There's a 4th one, however, and that's here. And as you can see, it's ripped out part of the engine block and then part of the timing cover here. So that's going to be a little bit tricky. That's what we're worried about. But fortunately, on the alternator, all of it's still here. So you see that there, that metal, cast iron metal bit is part of the engine block there. So that bit there, and then it's still held on with the RTV, but then this here is on the timing chain. So we have both pieces. We're going to hope, we've got to contact some welders, see if they're able to weld that back together, because we're not going to be able to do that. And we are hoping that it can get welded, because it's going to be quite expensive if we have to buy a new engine. The car also has only 71,000 Ks, so if we can salvage that engine, all the better. But for now, let's go ahead and remove all the broken pieces from the car so we can get to that timing chain cover and the engine block. Now we've got to get rid of these bits, the very bad bits. There's a couple spot welds all over the place, so that's what the drill's for. We've got to drill out all the spot welds. And after drilling all the spot welds out, it was time to pry these structural pieces apart. Fortunately, we didn't really need to worry about being too gentle because these are all going to have to be replaced anyway. Gone. So yes, as you just saw, we had to cut off part of the structural bit of the car because as you can see here, we can't actually get to the spot welds. A job for future me. So now that that's out of the way, I can finally get to the air intake while my dad goes ahead and has a crack at the radiator. So the radiator is clear. We just, oh yeah, all the bolts are out. Yeah, I think so. We've got the fan power, I believe, and this hose, which I believe is the one that goes to the pump, I think. So we're going to take this out, and then the radiator can come out. Then it was onto the front crash bar. Finally, it was time to take off the last of these structural broken bits, at least for now. So we just had a look, and this piece here, there's a plate on top of this, and it's welded to the broken bit, as you can see here. And it turns out that just bolts straight off and on, so there's no welding required. At least for this, there will be for that. But for here, no welding required. If we can just get a bit like that, then just bolt straight onto there, no welding. So that's a relief. Less welding the better. Alright, so it's a new day and we're going to take off all of this clunky bits on top. So I watched the video, we figured out how to get the manifold off. Unfortunately it didn't go any further than the manifold, but it should be pretty self-explanatory after that. So we got to take off all of the fuel lines because this has both direct and port injection, so it has injectors in the manifold. So we got to take off all of the fuel lines, which I believe are all here. There's a coolant line here for the, it might be this one, for the throttle. There is, and a couple electrical stuff bits. There's also the vacuum lines under here. If I just pop this off, these vacuum lines, they got to come off. And then once all that's off, we should just come out with one unit with injectors and everything attached. And then we can get to the broken bits under there, and we can free up the space here for the welder to come through, and so that he can do his magic. So that's what's on the itinerary today. And yes, you heard that right. We got a welder and he's booked in, which means we're on a time crunch. But before we get any further, here's what my younger brother, the cameraman, had to say about the build so far.
The cameraman. Ooh. Not very clean interior, but it's pretty cool. Cool doors. Nice red. Toyota. Lights. Seat. The engine. Stay tuned for fixing the 86.
And yes, I couldn't have phrased that better. Stay tuned for the 86 rebuild. Anyway, back to taking off the intake manifold. This took a lot longer than we thought. Over 2 hours. There were just so many tiny, fiddly little pieces. But to start off with, as you can see, we're taking off the covers for the fuel injectors, which will expose the bolts that connect the intake manifold to the engine block. After that, it was on to unplugging the ECU, and man, that took a while, a lot longer than we thought. This part is basically the brain of the engine, if you will. Basically responsible for fuel injection and all the ignition systems. And after that, we're on to the bolts. There's 3 on each side that holds the intake manifold to the engine block. One over here, here, and here. And the same on the other side. Once those were off, we were free to wiggle it around and see what we hadn't disconnected yet, which was our next task. And once that was done, off it came. That manifold's off. Then it was something we probably should have done a little bit earlier, and that was draining the oil. We just drained the oil, and it looks like there's coolant in it or something. At least as far as I can see, at least there's no metal flakes, there's nothing silvery, sparkly. Fortunately, we reckon there's nothing bad wrong with the engine apart from the damage we can initially see. Because this was a coolant line from the radiator. Like coolant goes in there and goes to the rest of the engine, and that's right near, this snapped here, broke off here. That's right near that's where the damage is that we need to fix, that's right near there, and this was covered in coolant when we got it, so we have to guess. A lot of the coolant went in the timing cover chain here, and that's what's draining out into the, our drain bucket. Nothing better words. So yeah. So as you can see, we just got the, this is the oil that came out of the car. We just emptied it into an old oil container.
Caramel.
Yeah, but it's basically, that's just a mix of oil and coolant. There's a lot of dirt in there, which probably need to clean out, but...
It's like got to go on a cake.
Yeah, well, look, it's chocolate, looks like chocolate brownie too, look. Bits of dirt. There we go.
Good for putting on the fences on the farm.
Uh-huh.
Protects the wood.
Yeah.
Way to do it. Recycle.
Ay, tú sabes, mami. Ja, vamos para allá, vamos para allá.
As you can see, the previous owner of the car did some modding. And well, we have what I believe to be an NVIDIA N1 catback exhaust, Empire UEL headers. He had, obviously, what we've taken off already, the Grim Speed intake, which we're probably going to need a new one of, and some aftermarket shocks and probably coilovers too. Either way, I reckon not only is it going to sound cool, but it might handle quite well too. But I guess we'll find that out when we take it for its first drive. But moving on, there really isn't much left to do before the welder comes. But what's next up is removing all of the fan belt pulleys, which after trying for at least an hour on the main flywheel pulley, decided to get the proper tool for the job.
Ay, qué rico suena mi trombone. Ay, el trabajo está terminando. Los trajitos.
Tool worked, so that was a good investment. Saved us a lot of headache. Either way, if you ever get a stuck crank flywheel, one of these tools. There you go. This pesky thing is out, which means this should come off, and it only goes on one way as well. Look. Smells like oil. It smells like motor. Then we can go and take off the timing chain cover, which is just a load of bolts, 4 different sizes, so we've got to make sure we organize them, and then after that, gently prying it off with our pry tools. We just got the header off. Oh yeah, the timing chain cover, sorry. And it's off. The damaged bits up there at the top. Just there, which hopefully we can get fixed. Otherwise, it's a new one of these. And over here, you can see, that's the timing chain. There's some RTV here, we've got to just peel off. I'll do that later. That's the bit that needs to be welded back on. Right there. So, welder's coming in tomorrow. Hopefully can fix that up. And we shouldn't have to do anything. But that's all good. finally, clean up the top of the engine by taking off that broken water pipe and making sure everything is ready for the welder to come through and do his job.
Me voy.
The welder is here, and before welding he just gave the parts all a quick clean and is now welding the large broken piece back on the engine. And with that now complete, he's building up all the other broken pieces and is now welding them to the engine. And with that done, he'll tap out those welds and move on to the timing chain cover. And with that, the timing chain cover is done. A huge thank you to Spot On Welding. If you need any sort of welding done in the Lismore area, New South Wales, be sure to hit them up. So, welder just came and he's fixed the top of the engine here, which is great. So all this has been welded back together. All good. It's not going anywhere. So we can start reassembling the engine, same with the timing cover, that's all fixed, which is sweet, so we don't have to get a new one of them. Alright, so the next step is to take off the oil pan because a lot of coolant got mixed in with the oil after this broke off, and there was a pipe here and coolant went everywhere and it all went in here and it was coolant all down there. You see the oil looks like coffee. That all needs to be cleaned out and we're going to have to drop the oil pan for that most likely, which I think it depends. I think it might clear. Might have to take the headers off. Hope not, but we'll have to see how that plays out. And as right now, we are happy that those aftermarket headers on because we managed to take the oil pan off without taking those headers off. So we just got the sump off. The RTD is quite a pain to get off, but it's off now, and well, as you can see, it definitely needed a clean because that's all oil mixed with water. Under the engine, fortunately, it looks pretty good. But yeah, just clean this out, RTD it all back on, pop it back on, and we're up to rebuilding.
Finally, we have the sun out. It's been a bit wet of late, but now it's just absolutely beautiful. Okay, so Jai's under the car now, just cleaning up the last of the oil pan so we can get the oil pan back on.
Now it's time for the bit I was looking forward to the least. Cleaning up all of the RTV that seals all the parts together. A very slow and tedious process, but has to be done. A little bit of brake cleaner helps quite a bit with this process, and whilst my dad worked on the engine block, I worked on the timing chain cover. Next, it was time to jump back under the car and apply a fresh layer of RTV so we could stick the oil pan back on. And with that done, it was onto the timing chain cover. After a quick clean, we just changed some of the O-rings between the timing chain cover and the engine. There were 4 of them in total, but funny story actually, we went to Toyota to ask for these O-rings, but they just told us to go to Subaru instead, because they didn't have any. I mean, I guess it is a Subaru engine, but it was just quite interesting that Toyota didn't have any of the parts there. Anyway, after that, we applied the RTV and put the timing chain cover back on. Whilst it might not be the prettiest, I'm pretty sure it's going to get the job done. Now, the reason why we're willing to travel so far for the car was because we believe we got it for an absolute steal. All in all, the total price of the car, including all the auction fees, petrol and trailer hire for bringing the car back to our garage, was $6,000. And we've seen other wrecked examples go for a lot more, close to 10 grand even. And that's without any of the auction fees and excluding trailer hire. And the cheapest 86 with the same model year is going for 20 grand, with cars of a similar mileage reaching close to 24. This could be the cheapest 86 out there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe if you want to stay tuned for the 86 rebuild.